Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is a series where I will be checking out or revisiting some of the older games, comparing them to current standards, and see how they stood the test of time, not only in terms of visual fidelity, but also in terms of gameplay and story experience they offer. This series is different from my Worth the Play series. Do check that out and visit the intro page for more details about channel and other videos. So, starting off this series with a bang, here we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Although the game is roughly 9 years old, but with a free patch offered by CD Projekt Red roughly a year back, offering an improved visuals and refined gameplay mechanics, this might be the perfect opportunity to jump back inside the grim and cruel universe of Witcher. Or if you have never experienced this game of the year of 2015, then I would say definitely continue watching this video and let's see how the game holds up in the current times. Story and its setting is one of the strongest cornerstone of this game. So before we begin, I would like to offer a small context on the premise so as to make you better understand the Witcher universe. So it goes something like this. Ages ago in the world's history, there occurred an incident known as the Conjunction of Spheres, where literally a clash of realities took place and different planes got combined, which led to world getting introduced to magic and monsters, which bled into this world during the conjunction of spheres. So basically all the monsters, magical beings and even the magic itself that is present in the current world is a result of different planes clashing. So when humanity was driven to the edge when introduced to this new overwhelming reality, that's when witchers were created. Normal human beings who were genetically enhanced by implementing mutations, altering their physiology and stripping them of their human emotions and humanity. This was done in order to combat the monsters and magical creatures who were beyond normal human capabilities. But ages have passed now, and over time, the world has not been kind to the brethren of witchers, as now only a few handful witchers remain living in isolation, always on the road hunting monsters because no matter the role they play, witchers are always treated as outcasts of society, hated and often hunted by humans, non-humans and monsters alike. Feels like it really is a grim life of a monster hunter.
I like being on the path. I like picking up a lead, a trail. I like the tension right before a fight. And nothing gets my adrenaline flowing like battling a beast. Even gotten used to people treating me like a freak, an outcast. Yeah, not something I think about much, but I like being a witcher.
So, the tale begins where a leading man Geralt of Rivia and his trustworthy mentor Vesemir are on a quest to find Geralt's long-lost love Yennefer. This travel transitions into a brief prologue where you are introduced to the world of Witcher, and you get to track and hunt down a griffin, where soon after the completion of the prologue, you meet Yennefer, but not before you wreck up the local watering hole. So hereafter, meeting with Yennefer and bidding farewell to Vesemir, our plot thickens, and soon you find out that your adopted daughter Ciri has returned after years of plane jumping from reality to reality. She is still on the run, being hunted by a group of ancient evil elves called the Wild Hunt. So being a good father and a faithful witcher, it is your job to track your daughter down and bring her to safety.
Look, that's more or less what she looks like now. Or so our agents claim. Our little witch has grown into a young lady.
So off you go on your journey to find your daughter and a grand adventure which awaits you along the way. I know what I'm gonna say next is gonna sound weird, but it is the closest reference I can come to explain the overall setting of the game to someone who is completely unaware about Witcher universe. So, the world of Witcher awfully feels like the grim world of Game of Thrones, filled with politics, conspiracies, desires, betrayals and heartbreaks, but in a high fantasy setting with a higher degree of magic and magical beasts present. I know my comparison may not be on spot, but you get a similar vibe of a grim and cruel fantasy world which also feels pretty humanly relatable and grounded at the same time.
Things used to be simpler. Monsters were bad, humans good. Now, everything's all confused.
Used to be exactly the same. You've just forgotten.
The world of Witcher reels you in with its grim, albeit a beautiful, war-torn reality, and a lively atmosphere where literal monsters are hiding in the shadows. And the game hooks you up with its engaging plot as the story progresses further, becoming more engaging, gory, and bizarre. Where along the way, Geralt finds himself in the middle of many a peculiar situations and scenarios, just trying to survive and get past it. For example, trying to resolve an ordinary family dispute, at least ordinary in comparison to a regular Witcher work, which turned out to be more dark and magical than you would have anticipated. You will also find yourself getting involved in politics between two warring nations, fighting discrimination in society against non-human and mages, conspiring to topple a nation, causing a rebellion, taking part in a theater play, go treasure hunting, having some good times with the sorceress, and even becoming a kingmaker in a plot revolving around Vikings and pirates, all the while doing some good old monster hunting in the middle.
I owe you my life, unknown knight. How are you dubbed?
Dubbed Geralt. Geralt of Rivia.
The game has this and many more things to offer, and surprisingly always manages to keep the content fresh and interesting in its roughly 30 to 40 hours of a very well written main quest. But if you want to have a pure, wholesome Witcher experience, it is highly recommended you engage in side quests and monster contracts, which is where the key role-playing elements of this game truly shines. And unlike most games, Witcher 3 side activities offers an iconic and well-written side quest encounters which are so engaging that could easily be mistaken for being a main quest without a doubt.
I understand. Alas, every rose has its thorn, and there are no happy endings. Yet truth be told, I never thought I would get one. I came here prepared to die.
And not only that, but the way you play as Geralt with the actions you take and the decisions you make throughout the game in side or main quests are very important, and not only complement each other but also have a very significant impact on the overall narrative of the storyline. So it is very highly recommended you go for the side activities along with the main quest, as it will not only significantly extend your gameplay time, offering about 120 to 150 hours of content, but also offers a complete wholesome Witcher experience.
Fine, I'll look into it. Gotta admit, piqued my curiosity.
And if you think this is a lot of content, just hold on. The game also offers two expansions, Heart of Stone and Blood and Wine. Yeah, you heard it right, it's not DLCs. They are expansions, and quite literally so, where both the expansions combined offers amazing iconic story content which is almost equivalent to that of the main game itself, which is pretty massive and can extend your gameplay time further, offering 200 to 250 hours of total playtime. It is quite literally a world where you can lose yourself for weeks or months even, and I highly recommend you do that cause the experience is worth it.
Let's do this.
Well, Witcher 3 is a third-person action RPG, and at first glance, the combat may appear a bit basic and the RPG elements may appear a bit complex, but believe me, it's only at the first glance, or very initial part of the game feels that way, because once you spend some time with it, then you'll realize that the RPG elements aren't that complex and the combat isn't that basic, where it is some of the most fun combat experience I've had in an action RPG. Especially the level of depth and variation it offers, along with such a wide variety of monsters. This alone makes it a strong reason to play Witcher 3, especially for people who like action games. The combat also doesn't shy away from the role-playing elements and try to play to its core strength, where the game actually makes you feel and play like a Witcher, and rightfully so. For example, the game encourages you, not forces you, but encourages and incentivizes you to study about your target or the monsters you encounter. And this helps because you can prepare beforehand on what will be the best or most effective way of dealing with that creature by using a comprehensive yet accessible alchemy and crafting system to create tools like weapons, armors, potions, decoctions, oils, bombs, gadgets, and using them alongside Witcher signs in a way of different combinations to uniquely deal with each monsters the way you like.
Not bad. Not bad. Though you could stand to improve some things.
Man spends his whole life learning.
Not a Witcher, unless he doesn't want to live long.
In Witcher 3, the character build and its variations comes in the form of mutations, which is kinda sorta like the skill tree / perk system, where you can unlock and upgrade different abilities and allot them to your mutation slots to utilize the benefits. At first glance, these upgrades may appear a bit minute or insignificant, but once you have gotten a better understanding on the mutation system and how to use it properly, you can have some real fun with crazy build options, which in turn showcases another layer of versatility the game has to offer. And it brings all these elements together so efficiently by making some of the core RPG elements approach in a modern way, making them more accessible without breaking the flow of the combat, making you actually feel like the Butcher of Blaviken. If I had to explain the combat of this game to somebody in present times, I would say it's kinda similar to that of a Souls-like game. At least the base action mechanics of both games are very much similar, but Witcher offers more variety and fast-paced action in its combat, which is pretty forgiving compared to an actual Souls-like. But if you play the game on Deathmatch difficulty like I did for 100% achievement, the game can be absolutely brutal and would quite literally feel like an actual Souls-like. And even though on Deathmatch the game destroyed me completely on multiple occasions, but I have to say, at its core the combat of this game is simply amazing and some of the most fun and engaging gameplay I've experienced in an action RPG, offering tons of variety and logical depth. I would also like to point out that with the new update, they have also made improvements on certain combat elements. For example, now you can consume potions and decoctions and apply oils to your sword directly from the quick dial, which greatly helps with maintaining the immersion and not breaking the momentum of combat, unlike previously where you had to enter the inventory by pausing the game and then using the potions or oils, which was a pain of another degree. Here in Witcher 3, Ciri is also a playable character, and even though there are only few handful of segments throughout the main campaign where you get to play as Ciri, but they do have their own significance that comes along with its own unique playstyle, where Ciri uses only one sword instead of using two swords, and also unlike Geralt, she doesn't use any sorts of oils, potions or gadgets. Instead, she uses the magical power of her Elder blood to perform some cool magical combat maneuvers, do the teleport dash whilst dodging, and automatically heals when not taking any damage. Ciri's combat mechanics are pretty cool, but not as in depth as Geralt's. Still, they have their own unique charm and can provide you with a fun combat experience. Keeping aside the combat of the game, I want to talk a bit more about the role-playing element of the game and how rich of a vast open world experience it offers, where throughout your journey you will experience some amazing variety of vistas and will actually feel like the character you have embodied. As walking in the shoes of Geralt of Rivia is no easy task, and I'm not only talking about hunting monsters, but also the actions you take or the decisions you make throughout the journey will always have their consequences, which can either be good or bad, and many times a whole lot of grey, where on multiple occasions you will be left dumbfounded and with a sour taste in your mouth, wondering what went wrong, even though you try to aim for the best possible outcome. And at the same time, some outcomes will leave you with a warmth in your heart and a crack of smile in your face. Whatever the consequence of your actions may be, sometimes they may show its face right away, but sometimes they may come to bite you in the ass later when you least expect it, which really helps add to the immersive role-playing experience of the game and makes the narrative which comes along with it that much more meaningful.
We ought to rejoin them.
Give me a minute. I'm old. Need more rest.
You are, and you do. Let's stay a bit longer.
The decision-making part of the game, or how you decide to play as Geralt, is not only crucial for the main story but also for the side quests and Witcher contracts, because they help establish the narrative of Geralt's journey throughout the game, and they not only have a significant impact on the main storyline but also in the world of Witcher, which you can observe sometimes directly, sometimes a bit passively, but still you can always observe the impact your actions and decisions have brought upon the world and your journey as a whole. Now, since we are on the topic of side quests, I have to give a special shout out to CD Projekt Red, because I had a thought 9 years back whilst playing the game, which is still very much true to this day. The side quests in this game are amazing and some of the most well-written quests in an action RPG. This really helps keep things fresh and far from monotony, and with the quality of content being offered in the side activities are so well thought out that it not only becomes almost indistinguishable from a main quest, but at the same time it also significantly complements the main arc, setting up the overall story and narrative of the game. This is why I'll mention again to anybody who's going to play the game that in order to have a pure and wholesome Witcher experience, please do engage in side quests, Witcher contracts, treasure hunts, and obviously Gwent. No other mini-game of a major title has earned more respect and likability as much as Gwent. So much so that CD Projekt Red had to launch it as a separate title altogether. This is a Magic the Gathering type of card game, but without high level of complexity. Yet it is so engaging and fun that you forget that it is a minigame, and like me, a ton of players have found themselves just playing Gwent for hours and hours on the end. So much so that I could make a whole separate video just based on that.
In the mood for a round of Gwent? Up for a round of Gwent? Wouldn't happen to play Gwent, would you? I know you're busy, but round of Gwent?
But wait, gameplay content doesn't end there. CD Projekt Red upped the ante with the addition of 2 expansion packs, offering 2 whole new main story arcs, and an array of new side content, which also adds new elements to the gameplay, like now you can enchant the gears along with obtaining higher level of gears, and further modify mutations to add more depth to character build and playstyle. Seriously saying, the amount and quality of content offered by these 2 expansion packs alone are almost as equal as the main game itself, and that is saying something with high amounts of praise, as a game which is almost a decade old is offering more quality content in its expansion than main content in some of the current games.
He showed great courage, great strength, great composure. He fought nobly with honor, and thus rightfully deserves the title of this year's Champion of the Arena!
Even though I think the game's combat is pretty amazing and overall gameplay is very solid, engaging and innovative to this date, still it's not all golden, as there are certain elements about the game which are not my favorite and sometimes can be a bit of a dullard. So starting off the list is crossbow mechanics. It is a bit slow and not as responsive, probably the only element which kinda sticks out in an otherwise awesome gory combat. Next is the treasure hunts. Even though I liked a lot of them, as they offer rare and valuable items alongside small tidbits of narratives which helps in the world building, but some of them are tedious, especially the ones where you have to track down Witcher gears from different schools, which are a sort of an extended form of fetch quests. Luckily, they are not a mandatory aspect of the game and can be ignored if not interested. And finally, an issue which still persists even after the next gen patch is horse riding. I'm not saying it is a completely terrible or broken or unplayable, none of that. It is just an unpolished experience, and it stings more because most of the game overall is amazing and provides a very polished and tight-gripped experience, and horse riding kinda sticks out of that. But it is not a new issue. Even at the time of release, the horse riding mechanics was mediocre at best. Thankfully, it's not a game-breaking element. Ironically, it is just a small speed bump along a smooth ride. Well, if I'm being completely honest, the visual update was one of the biggest reasons and just the exact excuse I was looking for to replay the game. And I specifically avoided checking out gameplay videos of visual updates because I wanted to experience the upgrade firsthand. The latest update has been termed as the next gen update, so to avoid any confusion, I'll clarify it's not a remake, neither it's a remaster. It lies somewhere in the middle. According to me, it should be ideally titled as Enhanced Edition, as it heavily justifies that. The update offers an improved texture details, higher levels of foliage and its quality, better draw distances, improved shadow and lighting mechanics, and addition of atmospheric mists and dust, which really adds to the depth of the environment, making it feel more lively. The update also brings ray tracing elements, which offers a more detailed, realistic lighting and shadow mechanics to the game, making some scenarios look lifelike and just pop out. Even though the game visuals becomes a lot richer by addition of ray tracing elements, it does come with some catch, and one of which is performance, where FPS takes a significant dip, sometimes even more than 50%, and depending upon the system, can also suffer from minor stutterings. And even though some scenarios we see some major changes with ray tracing turned on, but still, there are some scenarios where you will observe very little to no changes. Now, before you start condemning CD Projekt Red for giving an unoptimized patch, I would like to say a few words in their defense. Witcher 3 was one of the earlier DirectX 11 games for PS4/Xbox One era, and it was built from ground up just for DirectX 11. And since this is not a complete remake or an overhaul, it's just a patch applied over to the game, and transitioning it to DirectX 12 along with addition of ray tracing makes a transition quite complicated. And considering that ray tracing mechanics and its applications are still relatively new, and still a lot of current gen games suffer from performance issues even though they are built up specifically for DirectX 12 and ray tracing elements. So I personally think we should cut CD Projekt Red some slack, considering they provided a real significant upgrade for a 9-year-old title at no additional cost, might I add. And especially that last bit. I didn't thought I'd be overjoyed at getting this upgrade free of cost, but considering current times and trends where an additional price awaits you at every turn, I'm actually quite grateful for this free upgrade. And also, if keeping aside ray tracing elements of the visuals, the game runs absolutely smooth without a hitch, as I played majority of the game with ray tracing turned off, and it still looked amazingly beautiful. I know at certain places the character models and some parts of visuals may feel a bit dated, but when all the different visual elements of the game comes together, it is just hard to believe sometimes that I am playing a game almost a decade old. It really holds up and stands the test of time. Not only the graphics are solid, but the way settings and surroundings are set up, it is just lively and feels heavily atmospheric. So anybody having any sort of concerns or issues regarding RTX part of visuals, I would recommend to just go at it without ray tracing, and the game would still look fantastic. And pairing these amazing visuals with some of the best sound effects and scores I have ever witnessed in a video game makes Witcher 3 a proper cinematic experience.
To dream of raven locks and twisted stormy, of violet eyes glistening as you weep.
To summarize it all, I would say Witcher 3 is still an absolute blast of a game, and I'm gonna list out why. Number 1, the plot and subplots are a very well written fantasy drama thriller which keeps you reeled in and will take you on a grand yet personal journey of its own. Number 2, graphics are a treat, although a bit dated at certain places, but are still capable of churning out some amazing visual eye candy, which is paired with some of the best sound direction in a video game. Number 3, an in-depth yet accessible gameplay and combat mechanics, which is not only a great fun that holds up to this day, but also offers a pretty unique, solid and replayable experience. Number 4, quality gameplay time. There's gameplay time and there's quality gameplay time, and this one offers the latter, where not only you can spend hundreds of hours exploring, adventuring and hunting monsters, but you will want to. In my single playthrough alone, which included both expansions, I ended up stacking 250 plus hours of gameplay time. And if I add the amount of replayability in New Game Plus with the base game alone offering multiple variations in storylines that has 36 different ending scenarios, it is very easy enough to say that this is a world where you can literally lose yourself for weeks, even months on the end. And finally, how well this game has stood the test of time. I know I have emphasized and mentioned it a lot of times in this video, but it is true that a game released in 2015 is still outshining most of the modern games. And even with its certain flaws or bugs, how well it has aged in past 9 years. But the reason I'm emphasizing on its significance so much because it is very easy to forget that and take it for granted.
Relax, he'll come.
There's something I'd like to know. How can you be so damned calm?
Side effect of my mutations. We Witchers rarely get the jitters.
CD Projekt Red's love and effort for this game is visible clear as day here, because they went above and beyond with this one, offering a very high level of depth and detail with tons of quality content, which is quite a rarity in current times, even amongst AAA titles. So to answer the main question, does Witcher 3 hold up in present time? Absolutely yes. And even though they have redeemed themselves with Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty and 2.0 patch, still it is without any sort of hesitation or doubt I can say that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is CD Projekt Red's magnum opus, and it is a must-play experience for everyone.
We have witnessed, and in fact on several occasions incited, many great and weighty events. After all that toil, I believe we deserve a bit of a rest.
That we do.
So folks, that's it from my side today. Please let me know your thoughts on the video, what changes I can bring about to improve, and what other older games you'd like me to try and compare with modern times. So don't forget to drop a like for support, comment your feedbacks, and subscribe for more incoming videos. And I'll see you soon in the next one.